Hi, I'm Shannon with Modern Traditional Quilts, and I'm here with our last block in our 9-patch charm square sampler quilt along. Today we're doing the Pinwheel Star Block. Some people also call it the Spinning Star Block. I'm really excited. We've made it. All 9 of our blocks are almost all the way done. This is our last one. Very excited about that. And so this will probably be the last time you see the plan. The plan was to make this block. If you look, it's in the center of our quilt layout diagram, number 9. And if we look at our picture here, it's actually going to be this one. This is what it looks like if we just randomly select our colors together. But this particular time, I decided that I wanted mine to have very, very specific color placement. So if you look at it, we'll see that we can put 2 half square triangles together of identical, and we can make a diamond out of it. And so I had a little bit of fun playing with mine and playing with the layout. That's probably one of my favorite things to do as a quilter, is to play with the colors and see if I can find little secondary patterns. So I've got my quilt block laid out here, and I had a little fun. So you've got 2 darks together, 2 lights. And I looked at them like you could actually make like a mini little 4-patch here. You've got a diamond and a diamond. And when we push these together to meet in the middle, that is what creates our spinning star. And so I made sure to have pretty careful color placement here. I've got our darks, our mediums, and our midtones to all kind of line up together. So I'm actually going to be able to get a diamond pinwheel acting one opposite of one another when I look at this block, and it's going to make it spin. It'll make it spin and give a really nice look. So one of our layout tricks when we're looking at placement is we want to make sure that we can see which ones are light and which ones are dark, and a simple way to do that is simply to squint at it. The different strengths of the hues will come out. The way I originally had this lined up and the way that you see it in the picture or diagram that you have on the screen, I didn't like it too much when I finally set it out, because I had a dark one over here and next to a light one, next to a mid-tone, and really wasn't giving me that paddle wheel feeling that I wanted. So I wanted distributed that. So I went dark, dark, mid-tone, mid-tone, and I think I'm going to be a lot happier with it. So make sure you always use your squinting trick. Same as last time, we're going to use our traditional piecing methods. We're going to first sew our columns together. So I'm going to go vertically row 1. I'm going to go row 1, lay row 2 on top of it, sew the seam. When that's all done, I'm going to row 3 on top of row 2, sew my vertical seam, and do row 4 on top of row 3. Alright, so I'm going to take row 2, align it right on top of row 1. Kind of nice because they're diamonds. There's not actually a need to really pin match anything at this point. And now I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew this all the way down. So I'm chain piecing together. I'm not cutting any threads. That's because these threads will line the quilt blocks up for when we sew the crosswise seam. So it's a really, really nice trick. Now that we've got row 2 sewn on top of row 1, now we're going to flip row 3 onto row 2, align those up, and then sew this line all the way down. Making sure that our alignment is just how it is, and we're going to make sure that we don't clip any threads and we keep a nice chain piece seam along here. Okay, so I just finished sewing row 3, column 3 onto column 2. Now we're going to hand press it open, finger press it open, and now we're going to take our last row, lay it on top, match our diamonds, and go ahead and sew down this last one. We're going to take row 4, sew it onto row 3, and then we're going to pause it before we sew across to make sure that we have our seams pressed in opposite directions to reduce bulk. Alright, so we've sewn our 4th column together. We can check our layout, and if we look, it's laid out just fine. So let's go look at some tips to pressing before we move on and go and sew our horizontal rows. Okay, so this quilt block's tricky because not only does it have nested seam allowances that you want to get in there, but it's also going to have a spinning star in the middle. So what we're going to do is look for X marks the spot, and then we're going to press our rows in opposite directions so that we don't get a lot of bulk in the seams. My tip is still the same. Don't clip your threads between columns. That actually serves as a really nice little thing to be able to pin the rows together. It keeps your orientation nice. But think about it, if you're going to take column 1, press it up, then you're going to take column 2 and press it down, and make sure that they go opposite. That's going to nest your seams. Okay, also remember X marks the spot. We look, these vertical seams should align with one another, and we're going to make sure our needle of our sewing machine lands just right outside the X. So super important tip. Another tip is that when we get to the center of this block, we're going to take our scissors and nick maybe about 1/8 of an inch. Don't cut through your thread at all, but that's going to make it so it can reduce bulk. It's going to be really hard to get the center of this block to lay flat. And so in order to fix that, not only are we going to get the seams to go opposite directions, but 8 layers is a lot. And so we can actually get those layers to spin. So what we're going to do, after we nick it, we're going to put our thumb or our finger on it, and we're going to take our quilt, rotate it 90 degrees. And when we do that, those seams are going to then spread out like a fan, and we're going to make that so it lays flat. Alright, so we've got it all pressed. You look on the back, our seams are going opposite directions, so I like to start in the middle. This is actually going to be the trickiest spot. It's got the most layers. I'm going to take those seams. I've used blue thread, so hopefully you can see my X marks the spot. We're going to line those up with our fingers, make sure that they nest. You can kind of feel that bulk kind of sit together. We're going to take our next block next to it, get our other half square triangles to align with one another. And if our seams are pressed opposite directions, these guys will actually sit together quite nicely and kind of pin match themselves. So I'm going to sew this horizontal seam and then do the other 2 seams, and then we will go ahead and spin the center and show you how to get this really thick thing to lay flat. So we have our quilt block all pieced, but we're going to have a really big lump in the center of this if we don't figure out how to get it to lay down. So I've got it so it's pressed so they're all going opposite directions, but you're still looking at like 8 layers of bulk, and if you hit that with your needle, say if you're machine quilting, that'll be a problem. So the trick is lay your whole thing flat. I know we talked about it, and if you ever do a Lone Star quilt, you're going to want to follow this trick, okay? So we're going to go to the middle, just clip maybe 1/8 of an inch, super tiny. If there's any dog ears, kind of trim them out of the way. Take your finger, spread those seams out, and then spin your block. Okay, when you do that, those seams spread out like a fan, and then you get a nice sharp point in the center. Alright, so you can see in this other block I also did spin it as well, and we did get really nice sharp points, exactly what we want in the center of your spinning star. Other things to think about that are really fun is that if you want to take this block and make it 4 different times, you can make a spinning star quilt or a pinwheel star quilt. And I think it's kind of fun that if you stack them all together, 4 of them end to end, and you make sure that you don't have any triangles in the wrong spot like you do right here in this diagram. Just one spot's off, that's okay. You'll see that you get a 5th star that appears in the middle. So great block. You could totally make a quilt just out of this block. You could use these half square triangles that we've done and just make a spinning star only quilt block. Make 9 of them. And you can make a quilt very similar to what you see on the screen. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this. Next time we will be doing our borders and our sashing, and it's kind of fun to kind of look through and see all the work that we've done. If we look, we have all of these quilt blocks here, all of them ready to go, all pressed. Next time we're going to square them add the sashing and the borders, and then we will have our quilt sampler already done. Isn't it fun to look at all these different colorways and all these different blocks together and see how fun it has turned out? All right, see you later.